This is David Waters with Gators Breakdown, bringing you a preview of a Gators Breakdown Plus chat. If you want to join Gators Breakdown Plus and take part in chats like these, link is in the description below to join.
I mean, Dave, I think one thing, if you looked at the way the team performed last year at the end of the year, I don't count the bowl game because that was an exhibition. But
yeah,
if you look at like the Vandy game, you look at Florida State, where like, well, yeah, we played them close, but we looked bad for parts of that game offensively and defensively. I don't think people are looking at anything that Florida has and saying, yeah, they could do better than they did last year. Right. There's, in the defense is very much you have to see it to believe it, because we've been saying there's no way the defense can be that bad again for, 4 years now. So, I think that's the same thing with a lot of people. They're done giving Florida the benefit of the doubt, and they very much want to see Florida actually prove it on the field.
Yeah, and look, I have no problem with that. I really don't. I've fallen that line of thinking a good bit. But we do know every year there's going to be these surprise teams in the SEC, and I hope Florida's one of them. Last year, nobody was talking about Tennessee like they are talking about Tennessee this year. One team I'm kind of surprised that's not getting love now. I know they got to replace a lot of talent. That's South Carolina, and they're ended the season last year where they did end really good, but it's not transitioning into really high thoughts about them. And now, don't get me wrong, I think schedule like Florida plays into it for them a bit as well. I think their over-under win total was 6.5 after they won 8 games last year, I believe. So I'm kind of surprised. They're not maybe in that 7, maybe even replicating the 8-win range. But I think a tough schedule does play mostly into that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, here's the thing: how differently would we view Florida? How outside entities would view Florida? It's just somehow, now I hate playing the hypothetical and what-if game, but I'll play it here for the sake of it. Just switch the performances of Vanderbilt and Florida State. You're going to get the victory over Vanderbilt if you play the way you did versus Florida State. So that's one more win, and then you probably get blown out by FSU. I don't know if the way you played against Vanderbilt, if it replicates into that, but more than likely that's the way it would have panned out. But it would have given Florida one more win. You wouldn't have had an embarrassing loss versus Vanderbilt. So if you just flip those two performances, in Florida's last 2 regular season games, what would the narrative around the team be?
Yeah, I'm on a different side of the spectrum. I just feel like that Florida, I don't think they're going to do nothing spectacular this year. I just think we're going to be a lot more consistent this year. I feel like that it's not going to be pretty at all, but I feel like we're going to be a consistent team. We're going to compete a lot more. We're not going to have as many flat games like we had at Vanderbilt. I just think we're going to each game we're going to be you're going to know what you're going to get. There's going to be consistency every single game.
And to think about it, as I said, I'll go to the point again, and then we can wrap it up. I'll let you guys get back in here before I wrap it up. But there's just so many storylines. We'll just stay in the SEC from last year. The rise of Tennessee, South Carolina's late season surge, LSU being a surprise team, Arkansas not living up to expectations last year, Texas A&M falling on their face. I mean, there's 5 storylines right there that we could not have written before last season. So. Look, I don't have a lot of high hopes for Florida this year either. I got a 7-8 win team at best. I mean, I can stretch it to 9 if some things go right, but I have a hard time seeing above 9. But then I'd sign me up for 9 right now. If you gave me a choice, 8-4 would be a good season for Florida given this schedule. There'd be some really good wins on that schedule. So look, there are storylines that we could not have written for the SEC a year ago that played out and panned out. And look, hopefully Florida is one of those storylines this year where it's a team that went and played better and looked better than we were giving them credit for going into the season.
I think we'll find out a lot about Billy Napier's coaching this year.
Yes. Yeah.
He won't really have the excuse of, players buying in because he's pretty much flipped the roster completely. So we'll see how good of a coach he is with probably middle of the SEC talent-wise. I would say somewhere in the middle of the league talent-wise, maybe upper middle. But with the schedule that we've got, I mean, it's still he'll prove a lot if we do get eight or nine wins.
Yeah, of course we.
I'm still,
Yeah, we got to see how each game plays out. But I would say, if what we would consider good coaching plays out, if we get good coaching, now I can't tell you what that looks like right now here in May. We got to take each game, each situation as it comes to us. But when Florida plays their 12th game at the end of next year, by the time the Florida State game goes final, and we say, all right, Billy Napier coached a good season. To me, that is 8 wins. If he coaches a good season, if he coaches good games, I think we're looking at 8 wins. And if it's average, it's 7. Maybe you can squeeze 7 wins out of that. But if you go 6-6 again, that means to me there's still going to be some questionable coaching, questionable decisions being made from the head man. Like I do think your coaching prowess eventually has to break through at some point. I think we need to see that somewhere in year 2. As I said, now we'll see what these games look like. If there's a lot of close losses, and where I think we're all smart enough fans to realize we can see some progress in something like that, but we got to just maybe see how it plays out first. But if we're just going by a record alone right now, here as we sit here in May, if Billy Napier does a good job coaching, I think Florida gets 8 wins.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to figure out if he is a good coach or not this year.
And if it's not 8 wins, I'm not going to sit here and say he's not a good coach, but that question is certainly going to still remain, and he may just be one of those guys and that has to fully get his guys and may have to get that quarterback. There are some coaches out there, I'll give them more credit, that can take anything and make something out of it. Maybe Billy Napier's more of one of those ones that has to have his pieces, and we just got to be patient till he gets those pieces in here.
Yeah, we had a few questions about him last year, and I think we'll be able to answer some of those by the end of this year, and we'll know what we've got. I think by the end of this year, at least, coaching wise. I think 6 is the number for success this year. Keep the over under. Oh, really? I mean, we don't expect this year to be good. We don't expect next year to be good. We think 25 is going to be a year, right?
Yeah, I can see that. And
you got to win 6 games. Then, if you want to get to 25, we can't be taking steps backwards.
Yeah, but that also means, and I guess take it by, we're probably one of those wait and see moments too. But what does the bowl game do to people? Like, what if Florida goes 6-6, but you end the season 6-7? Again. I think most of us will look at the regular season as more of a barometer, of course. But at this point, 7-6 certainly looks a whole lot better than 6-7. So I don't know if I could go, we would talk about another team that goes 6-7 for the 3rd year in a row.
I just don't know if a 6-6 or, just a 6-6 regular season. What's our recruit? I'm just so scared of a subpar season like that, like a 3rd straight 6-6 year. Recruiting is going to take a hit. I mean, it's going to be hard to keep some of those recruits. Right now, we talked about it earlier, we're expecting a big June, but then you got to hold those guys onto your class all the way to December. 6-6, it really is going to depend on who those 6 wins are. It needs to be FSU, it needs to be, I don't know. It's hard for me to see us going 6-6 and then holding on to a good top 10, possible top 5 recruiting class. And then looking big picture, is Billy Napier really is he going to be the coach that, which I guess we talked about this last week, is he going to be a coach that gets us to the next level, or is he going to be the coach that gets us the hands that have everything ready for the next coach to get us to the next level? There's just a lot of questions.
I mean, I guess not all 6-6s would be equal. I guess, if listen,
it kind of depends on who the win, where those wins.
There you go. That's what I was about to say. If we take a look at it, all right, say Florida starts 1-2, so you got to win. You got to win versus McNeese, but you lose to Utah and Tennessee. Then say you lose to South Carolina, that's 3. You lose to Georgia, that's 4, and then you have a stretch of Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, Florida State, where if you finish 6-6. I mean, there's 2 more losses in there between Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, and Florida State.
And right now, on paper, you would say those losses are to LSU and Florida State, and that turns out to be not a good 6-6,
Right.
Because you once again lost to all your rivals.
Yep.
And
If you want to join Gators Breakdown Plus and take part in chats like these, link is in the description below to join.
Want more Gators Breakdown? Join Gators Breakdown Plus. Starting at $3 a month, get access to unique episodes, plus a blog, chat room, giveaways, shout-outs, and more. Gators Breakdown Plus is furthering the interaction with fans and listeners like you. Head to gatorsbreakdown.supportingcast.fm to join Gators Breakdown Plus today.